Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Dirt Talk with Drake York, and I've got Outlaw Kart driver Max Mittry on the line. Max, it's good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Max, you just got back from North Carolina racing the Speed 51 Open at Millbridge. How was that?
Oh, it was pretty fun. We were fast all weekend, and we were fast at Mountain Creek, too, with second place there.
Yeah, and your teammate Chase Magic won the preliminary night out at Millbridge. That would have been pretty cool for the whole Mittry team.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was just pretty disappointing. He was one spot short of 30 grand at the main event the next night, but it was all right. It was a good race.
Yeah, for sure. I got to see a little bit of it. Always cool to see California drivers head out to North Carolina and race. But Max, we'll jump right into it. What was your first introduction to the sport of racing?
Probably my dad when I was about 4. He was like, if you can explain what all the flags mean, I'll build you a cart and go race. I'm like, okay.
All right. Yeah, and of course we talk about your dad, Demo Mittry. Man, we'd be talking for the whole length that we have just about what your dad's accomplished. I mean, multi-time Outlaw Kart champion. Max, do you know how long for sure your dad's been racing? I know it's probably been as long as Outlaw Karts have been around.
Yeah, it's been since Outlaw Karts first started at Red Bluff without the cages and all that, just the dirt bike motors on the cage. I mean, the frame.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but we talk about your dad, Demo, one of the funnest drivers to watch behind the wheel. But Max, with the Outlaw Kart system and how it is right now, you're kind of like one of those example drivers that has started out at the very bottom in beginner box stock and has worked his way up to open. What's that journey like for you as a driver?
It's been a long journey. I mean, it's just been like every weekend we've been trying to race and go travel a bunch and hit every track we can.
Yeah, and Max, like you just talked about, you've traveled and you can do everything that you can to try to make it to the top. Obviously, firsthand, what do you think are some things that maybe racetracks or promoters or even drivers can improve moving up through the divisions?
Just a lot of seat time mainly. Just experience and seat time is the two main things, I think.
Yeah, and you were just mentioned traveling every weekend you can. You've kind of raced all over the country. You've raced in Montana for the Wild West Shootout. We talked about you going to Millbridge and Mountain Creek and obviously all the tracks we have out here in California. What's it like for you as a young age to not only travel, but, you know, like we talked about going to Millbridge, you're racing guys like Kyle Larson back there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be have the chance to do all that stuff and be one of the fastest California drivers, at least for karts.
Yeah, and Max, we talk about, you know, all the success that you've had traveling. Your buddy Nate Jones and you won on the same night. Well, actually, Nate won the main event, and you were crowned OI champion. And I know you and Nate, very close friends. Talk about how special that night was for you.
Oh, that was special. I mean, that was my first ever championship and my first year in OI and all that, so that felt pretty good to get that, get the championship.
Yeah, and Nate Jones and you, like I just said, very close friends. What's that friendship dynamic like? If I'm not mistaken, you guys sold him a car, and Nate's already been having a lot of success with that.
Yeah, we sold him that QRC, that old QRC that we had, and he's just been ripping with it.
And Max, first off, for the viewers at home, how old are you? Because we talk about all this crazy stuff you've already done.
Yeah, I just turned 13 in March.
Wow. Yeah, and with that said, you even got a chance to test a sprint car, the family sprint car this year. That had been really, really special for you.
Yeah, that was awesome. It's like driving a sprint car is like a go-kart, but you have to use the brakes to turn. It's just super cool.
And while testing a sprint car, you had some issues while you're testing at Marysville Raceway. I believe you backed into a wall, if I'm correct on this, and then you got a concussion afterwards.
I did, and that put me out for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, and was I right? That's what happened. You just kind of lost it going into one at Marysville.
Well, yeah, me and Colton, we went up there for some practice time, but the track wasn't like done or anything. He just got there and kind of watered it, so it wasn't very good all day. and it was just like burning tires. But Colton was doing pretty good in the midget, but the sprint car just there wasn't anything there. So I went out for my last time, and my last lap coming out of the last corner, I just drove it in there and hit the slick and bounced it up to the wall.
Yeah, and what has the recovery process been like? You talk about being out for 6 weeks. What are some things, like, even just mentally, you have to figure out afterwards?
It was like half and half of trying to figure out and get my confidence back, and also just like recovering, like staying at home and resting and stuff.
And so when you got back to the track, I'm sure that had to have been a huge relief for you.
Yeah, it felt great to be back in the car for the first time and shake the rust off at Cycling.
And Max, I know Demo, your dad, purchased the Tyler Wolf or the Chuck Wolf sand and gravel operation, and now it's kind of become the Mittry sprint car. So what's your role with the sprint car when you're not practicing it?
We just help out Chase. I usually just when we can, we go out and help him out, get it all ready and stuff, and try to hit silver dollar.
So I believe it's the age requirement's 15. In 2 years, are we going to see you in a sprint car at Silver Dollar?
Oh yeah, but the thing is, I'm pretty sure at Cottage Grove in Oregon it's 14, and we're gonna try to head up there a few times.
Oh yeah, Cottage Grove. Cottage Grove's got some good competition too. Have you been little studying up a little bit on it?
Yeah, I've wanted to race there for a while. I've been just watching videos on it. It seems like a pretty cool track.
Yeah, you might have to head out for the Marvin Smith Memorial next year. That race this year, it got pounded by rain. The track was really rough, but it looked like it was really good. There was a lot of good cars there, a lot of good California cars too.
Yeah, we were trying to have Chase go run that because Tim and Chase got back from the airplane and from the flight back to North Carolina, and then they drove home and started working on it, but then the rain kind of affected us, and we were just like, do we go or not? And we didn't end up going.
Yeah, that was kind of the dilemma for a lot of teams, I think. And it happens. Obviously not in the middle of May, or actually we're almost done with May. And yeah, it's crazy, Max. We're just getting pounded by weather out here. It seems like it won't stop.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't want it to be summertime here in California.
Yeah, hopefully, I know June has looks pretty good. The first couple weeks in June, obviously, June 1st at Cycling. You can head up to Cycling and run June 1st.
Oh yeah, we're planning on it.
And Max, going back to the concussion recovery process, once you got back to the racetrack, how long did it take you to shake off the rust?
It took me about like 3 races, and when we went out to North Carolina, it just felt like all normal again.
Yeah, it's good to feel back at home, especially, or not at home, but comfortable with the race car, especially when you go to a track like Millbridge, because that thing is bad fast, and it can turn around and bite you in a hurry out there.
Yeah, it can.
So other than the concussion, how's your season been so far?
It's been pretty decent. I'm just trying to shake off the rust. I feel like we'll have a good competition here this weekend at Cycling.
And Max, we also, again, going back to all those tracks you ran, I know you've ran Cycling, Red Bluff, Mountain Creek, Millbridge, and Big Sky Cartway in Montana. So what's a outlaw kart track that you've been trying to get to?
I don't know. We're just trying to hit all the tracks around the country, the big stuff. I think we're going to try to do Knoxville here.
Oh, isn't that race during the Nationals?
Yeah.
Oh, that will be a really cool deal. Have you, gosh, I just forgot the name of the place I was thinking of. Have you ever ran at Lakeport?
Yeah, I have. It was just like 250s and beginner box, and I haven't ran any other classes there.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky out here, Max. We got a lot of good tracks. But out of all of them, which is your favorite one?
It's got to be Cycling, Millbridge, or Big Sky Cartway. Those are my favorite.
So you're a big track guy, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Cycling in Millbridge, very similar characteristics. It gets up on the fence, Slide Job City. You know, if we're lucky at both tracks, you can get a pretty big curb up there.
Yeah, and it's just hammer down.
Oh, yeah, that's how Max Mittry likes it. And Max, whenever I see you at the track, you're really just seems like you're just having a ball, really. You know, you're always with Nate Jones and Dan Coleman and all those guys. Our good buddy Ricky Jones is always around you. How much fun do you have not only racing at all these racetracks, but hanging out with all your buddies?
I have a lot of fun. Half and half of it is just hanging out and watching the races, and also like racing and working on the karts.
So when you're not racing, Max, what is your role between the sprint car team or your dad racing karts, or even when Chase comes in? What's your role when you're not driving?
Probably just like, I don't know, just wash the karts mainly and like wash the air filters, get all that all cleaned up, help my dad out with setups and all that stuff.
All right, that's all the time we got. We'd like to thank you, Mr. Max Mittry, for joining us here on Dirt Talk with Drake York.
All right, thank you.
All right, everybody, that was Max Mittry, driver of the Mittry Construction 2X. As you heard him say, he'll be back in action here this weekend at the Cycleland Speedway. Upcoming races we do talk about, though. Obviously, Cycleland Speedway running this weekend, all of the divisions, plus the clone karts will be there this weekend. We had the clone karts at our last points race, and we didn't get a lot of them, but it was a pretty good show. Really looking forward to seeing those cars out there again. Also, the King of the West Narc Fujitsu Racing Series also heading out to Petaluma this weekend. Petaluma is a nice track. If you've never been to Petaluma, I highly suggest it. I've never been there from what I can remember for a 410 race. I'm sure I was there when my dad was on the NARC trail, but had the pleasure of going to Petaluma last year for the California Sprint Week with USAC CRA, and it's just an awesome facility, awesome racetrack. So either one of those tracks are going to be really good this weekend. Hope we see you at Cycleland. I will be at Cycleland or Petaluma, and even if you're going to a different race, we just hope you enjoy yourself, and we'll see you at the races somewhere this weekend.